welcome back to the only podcast that, like I said before, loves you more than you love us. I'm Travis, and today I'm here with Big Rob. We call him Big Rob.
Hey, yo! Welcome back to Tube Talk, The Boost, the vidIQ podcast network. What do we call ourselves, Travis, these days?
The Rob and Travis Show. I don't know.
I've been gone for a cup of coffee and I'm back, and we've got another channel name. Is that
Another
right?
name. That's true. Yes. On the YouTube side of things, it's vidIQ podcast, but Tube Talk on the other side has not changed because I'm deathly afraid of changing the name of that thing and losing all SEO. So I'm refusing to do that. But welcome back to the podcast that helps you grow your YouTube channel and sometimes talk about candy and other related and unrelated things. So we like to have fun here while we're talking on the podcast. And while, you know, some people might consider Rob a guest, really he's just like one of the many co-hosts that come through. And we do have a lot of guests coming up. And you might have seen, Rob, I don't know if you've seen some of the studio episodes we've been doing recently, where Jen and I were in the studio, which people seem to dig that a lot. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Cool vibe, cool thing. I think it'd be great if we had like a studio we went to all the time, but Jen lives literally hours away, so she has to come up to Seattle, and then we record when we do that. You live across the pond, as they say, so I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
So I think geographically, the meeting point would be like Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Maybe Iceland, if you could set up a studio there and we all jet over once a month. I'd be up for that.
Iceland. Is Iceland cool? Is it a cool? I don't mean cool as in cold. I mean, hey. I mean, is it like
what I've heard is it's horrendously expensive. That's all I know. Apparently,
weird. Why would it be so expensive? I guess people. I don't know. It's not a place
all
that you think about.
Scandinavian countries are really expensive for some reason because I think they're really well-run countries and people have a good quality of life, but it means that everything's expensive.
Interesting.
Anybody listening from Iceland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, do please correct me at that point. And
I would love to hear it.
Do you have any Scandinavian listeners?
I would love to hear that. We are worldwide, and I see you. I see you because I see the analytics, and you're all over the world. We appreciate you. But let's get into some of the questions you have sent us. As over the last couple of weeks, they've been kind of storing up. And here's the thing. I'm going to talk about the fact that not only do we have a backlog of questions, and moving forward, we'll always have a backlog. Because I had been warning for months that this was going to happen. We're going to have the Sophie's choice of questions, where I went through what we have in the backlog, plus knowing what's coming ahead for different content where we won't be able to ask questions or answer questions in some of those episodes. So if you wrote in over the last couple of weeks and you don't see your question here as of the date that you see this podcast, we're shooting it on whatever day today is, Wednesday or whatever. It's possible that your question won't get answered in the future, only because we had a lot of people who are, frequent flyers who write in. We love to hear from them. I read every single one of them. I read them all, appreciate them all, but I had to pick some. And to be honest, I go with the newer people first because we want to give everyone an opportunity to get their questions answered. So first up,
I have a random fact just to interrupt you there.
Go ahead.
I know it's really obnoxious and I hate when people do to me on a live stream, but I'm going to say it, Travis. When you said we're recording on a certain day, a video I released today on the channel had a reference to The Empire Strikes Back. And I had no idea, but today, the day that we're recording this, 45 years ago to that date, The Empire Strikes Back was released in cinemas.
Nah, you're kidding.
What a crazy coincidence.
No way.
And
that's wild.
And I spoiled the film as well in that video, and people were getting annoyed about it. But hey, it's 45 years old now. I think statute of limitations on copyright spoiling people, I think, is expired.
I think it's 40. I think the copyright spoiler thing is like 46 years, so you might be a year early.
Hey.
Yeah, I know. You have to be in your mid-50s before you can spoil anything.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, George Lucas, but he doesn't own any of that content anymore. So
he doesn't do anything anymore.
He literally sold out for billions of dollars. Well done, George.
I'm looking forward to doing that one day as well. All right, so the first
where were we?
The first question comes from the audio podcast listeners. So if you're listening on the audio podcast, no matter where you're listening from, there's an option there that says send us a text message. You can click on that, send us a good old text messages, and here is the first one. Hi, Travis and Jen, or in this case, Rob.
Oh, wow. I get to read it. This is cool.
Yeah, and you're going to read one of these. You're going to read the next message as Jen now reads things. Now that I have these up. Loving everything you do for creators. I'm a 2D and 3D animator looking to start history explainers. My question is, how focused down should I make my niche? My target audience would skew older, I think. Now on to Sweetie Delights. Have you tried Tunnock's tea cakes? One of Scotland's finest gooey inventions. Thank you kindly. I don't even know what that is. What is Tunnock's?
I've heard of a Tunnock, but I can't remember the last time I tried one. I'm going up to Edinburgh in a couple of weeks. I will try my best to try a Tunnock tea cake.
Oh.
And let you know. But tea cakes from, it's really weird. Tea cakes from my specific part of the UK are just bread rolls, whereas in other places it's a bread roll with raisins and nuts in it. But I don't know what it would be in Scotland as a Tunnock tea cake. I thought it might be a biscuit. Who knows?
I'm actually part Scottish, if you didn't know.
Really?
Yeah, I am part Scottish.
Your surname would kind of allude to that.
Yes, cool. Indeed. All right, so they're saying they're a 2D, 3D animator looking to start the history explainers, which is kind of cool because I actually like YouTube channels that have like the animations behind them. There's something more interesting to them than a talking head. Yeah. But they're asking like how focused down should they make their niche for a history explainer. Now you've watched history explainer channels before, yeah? I'm pretty sure you have. You watch all types of nerdy stuff just like this. What would you like to see from a channel that's like this? How far down do you think they should niche before they're down too far?
I think a certain period of time or event should be their niche. For example, I am a huge history buff when it comes to the Second World War. I will consume anything I can about it.
Interesting.
But let's say the French Revolution, the War of Independence, the Civil War in America, the First World War, I have far less interest in. So if a creator is jumping from one time period to another, that might put me off. Unless their ability to, we're talking about an animator, their ability to uniquely tell those stories through the animation is so powerful enough that it draws you into that style of animation. That could be their through line, their superpower, which allows them to jump timelines. But for me personally, Travis, I will be saying, let's pick a historical timeline that I'm most passionate about and at least start there with maybe the first 20, 50. I mean, depends how long it takes you to make a video and how long they are. You know, a set number of videos on that time period would be my suggestion.
Yeah, and historical explainers can mean anything. Like it could be the industrial age, it could be wars, it could be any of those things.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So if you're talking about a time period like Rob just said, then you could go through all those things. You go through wars and industrial periods, social economic situations for that time period. So you could do that and focus down to that. You also could niche in a different way and have like the most interesting parts of unknown history and then go through different timelines. Like there's different ways to niche down. Like niching down doesn't mean you can only talk about 1 year. It means a subject. And by the way, as we've talked about before on here, you can have buckets. So you could have a bucket of videos that are wars, a bucket of videos that are about economics, and a bucket of videos that are about social issues, which can then have timelines within each. But if you're just starting out, I agree with Rob. Pick something. Pick one time period and really nail it. Because, you know, if you're just kind of first starting out, one of the hardest things to do is tell a good story anyway. And as an animator, you're probably more worried about the animation than you are the details of the story. And I would recommend, as an expert in animation, you should, you are the expert there. You should make it good enough and then concentrate more of your time on the story and make it interesting. Don't make the animation perfect. Make the story perfect. I think that's the thing that's going to keep people. Just the animation itself is novel enough to at least get people to watch for a little while. But if the story isn't good, we actually saw this on the live stream. I think, what was it, yesterday? You guys were doing an animation channel that looked like a soap opera or something.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Yeah. Like the idea, the concept of that is really great. And even the animation wasn't bad. The voice acting was...
It was a bit scrappy, to be honest, almost to a point where it felt like it was a bit comedic satire.
But that could be okay.
But I don't think that was the intention. I think it was a serious take on on the soaps of that time period.
Whoops.
But anyway, yeah, it was a tough one to talk about that really, because the creator had done like 1,500 videos, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And they were still just getting less than 100 views per video. I did want to pick up something you mentioned there, Travis, about their skill being the animation side of things. That is also something that is under threat at the moment, given the barrier to entry to more complex visuals is being eroded by AI. So this can be either a blessing for this creator or an Achilles heel. If they're still able to create animations that are so unique and cannot be replicated by AI, then that means that you are even more unique. But AI is so fast that it could potentially be able to duplicate what you're doing in a few weeks, a few months. So just be aware of that as well, in terms of YouTube already being flooded by these visual, historic animations and storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just one of those things that you'll learn by doing. Definitely, I think like anything else, content creation, if you're really wanting to be successful, as quickly as possible, which is kind of a dangerous thing to put yourself under. But I mean, it's fine to have a goal. Having an idea of the direction you want to go is good, but then being flexible enough to go, okay, that didn't work, but this other thing did, is probably just as important. So keep that in mind when you're doing your content. But we're super excited for you. Can't wait to see.
All the best. Good luck on your YouTube journey.
Yeah. Next question. I love, so as you know, Rob, like we get people calling us everything vidIQ and everything, all these different names, which is great.
Yeah.
This one is very, very, I think very, very interesting. Hello, video intelligent quotient personnel, because vidIQ, of course.
I don't even know what that word is, quotient.
Quotient, yeah. That's actually what IQ is, intelligent quotient. That's what IQ means.
Really?
You didn't know that?
I've been welcoming people to vidIQ for almost a decade. I never knew what the Q meant. Don't trust a word I say, folks.
This is going in the water cooler Slack immediately. Yep. All right. So this is a text message from one of the writers who's very smart. They know what IQ stands for.
Do you want me to read this one out?
Yeah, go ahead. Because they're from England. Yeah.
I'll ask my questions first to get that out of the way. Firstly, how long should I leave it before I change a thumbnail if I think it's not doing well? Secondly, what are the benefits of doing live streams on YouTube/Twitch as regards to gaming? Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's great. There's a little part after that we'll talk about later.
Read out the rest of it later.
Yeah, we'll read that out later because I want to answer the questions first.
Sure.
So let's figure this out. So how long before you change a thumbnail? Which I'll tell you right now, Jen feels very strongly about not changing it too fast. And then what are the benefits of doing live stream on the two different platforms? So let's talk about thumbnail first. And this varies based on the amount of impressions you get in a certain amount of time. So as a larger creator, as vidIQ, we might change them very fast. What is the general thought behind this for the vidIQ channel?
Yeah, I might give a bit of an anti-Gen response to this. This is based on purely my personal experience and just knowing how my videos react on the vidIQ intelligence quotient channel with the audience in the first hour. If the click-through rate is less than 10% on the video, I expect to get a high level of interest in that first hour, that I'm thinking about changing the thumbnail and the title. Whether I actually do or not is another question. Ironically, today it was the complete opposite, Travis, because the click-through rate remained above 10% in the first hour, and it already picked the best thumbnail it wanted to use from the 3 we tested within the first hour. So that's like chef's kiss moment, like beautiful. Wow. YouTube can do its thing. Now, you do have to be conscious of the video's intent. If you're expecting it to be a performer right out of the gate and it has a short shelf life, then yes, you may want to think about tinkering with the packaging. You know, this might be like a release on a new product, or like you're reacting to a film that's just been released. You know, not The Empire Strikes Back, because that was quite a long time ago. But let's say Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Like, you're making a video, responding to it the day it's released, And you need all of that audience as quickly as possible. But if you think your video has long shelf life, it's going to be evergreen content, but it's not necessarily of high interest on the day it's released, then yeah, you do need to give it a bit more time to breathe. Now, that would be my general attitude to whether or not to change something quickly or not.
Yeah, and it also depends on like how many impressions you're getting, because if you only normally get like 10 views first day, that's not enough data to know whether or not your thumbnail worked. But I'll just quickly explain how, you know, as I've said many times before, how the YouTube algorithm works for the first 24, 48 hours, and then you can make your own decision. So you got to remember, for the first up to 48 hours, maybe even longer, depending on how large your channel is, your thumbnail is going to be shown to people who've been to your channel recently, and subscribers. So it's going to get shown to all those people first. So you definitely want something that's going to appeal to that crowd. And hopefully by this point, you have a general idea of what works on your channel and what appeals to that crowd. After that time, you know, 3 days and then onward, it's going to be shown to more people who have never seen your channel before. And then that thumbnail might actually have to be different. So like Rob said, which I think is really important difference, if you have something that has a short shelf life, like maybe a news article or a news report or something like that, or something that's just interesting for like a couple of weeks, you're going to want to hit them hard and quick, and which means typically engaging your audience and then hoping for the best beyond. If you have an evergreen piece of content, you can change your thumbnail. You can have one that's good for the first couple of days for your audience that you know works, and then make a completely different thumbnail or something that is definitely more interesting to people who don't know who your channel is. So in other words, that might be things like not even having yourself in the thumbnail. Like if you're in the thumbnail, typically, sometimes I'll do this where I'll have myself in the thumbnail early on so people know it's a video for me. And then later on, when people who watch you don't know who I am and don't care who I am anyway and are more interested in something else that I'm talking about, I will then focus that up front. So that's kind of the strategy behind it. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, you know, kind of early on whether or not something's working.
And you might want to look for data cues as well, such as if the average view duration or audience retention is higher than normal, but the video isn't performing that well, that might tell you that the video is of good quality and those who get into it are satisfied by it, but it does need a bit more of a revamp of the packaging. And, you know, if the comments as well are kind of leading towards a good piece of content. But like if the audience view duration is low and people don't like it, then maybe changing the packaging is not necessarily going to rescue it. It might have just been a bad video idea that doesn't work. You have to accept that as well.
Yeah. Lots of different cues on whether or not a thumbnail works, but I think hopefully with all of that, you have a general idea of what you should do there. I think it's great. And one of the other things that Steve said was that he was one of the creators, because Jen and I talk a little bit about what certain terms mean. There's a video coming up in the next couple of weeks, our podcast episode coming up in the next couple of weeks, where we go through almost every term, YouTube term, so that people can understand it. Because we realize when people write in, they go, I don't know what 1 of 10 means, or I don't know what these different things mean. And we want to meet them where they are and go, oh, okay, well, let me help you understand what these things mean. And he goes, I was one of those who had no idea what 1 of 10 meant, but I'm currently on 105 subs and loving the journey. So Steve, we appreciate you. And we're so glad that you have gotten so much from this podcast. And we love hearing from people. All right. Next one. This one is also a text message. So again, if you're listening to the audio podcast, you can click on that link and it'll send a text. Hi, vidIQ crew. I hope your candy has treated you well this week. I used to upload. You know what? We forgot to answer the other question. I just realized this. The question from before about live streaming.
Travis, I didn't want to say anything because there was tons of preamble after that bit as well.
No, you're right. Listen, this is what happens to me. The other question was, what are the benefits of doing live streaming on YouTube, Twitch? Yeah, okay. Let's do that. So we live stream.
We do.
On the vidIQ channel. What are the benefits that we see?
We do have a lot of fun, a hell of a lot of fun.
Yes.
Like last week, we were accusing creators of being high just because we paused the video at the wrong time. We get interruptions from people trying to sell us Thrustmasters, whatever they are.
Yeah.
I think what you need to appreciate with live streams is that it's a very different audience, and you are talking directly, down the lens at your audience, and you're wanting them to interact with you. So try and make it casual, try and make it fun, and appreciate at the same time that there's a lot more friction with a live stream. People have to turn up at a specific time. and be in a particular type of mood to enjoy the live stream. So when you start live streaming is a interesting question. I mean, I always would recommend, if you want to do live streaming in the future, do it before you're ready, because then you can understand and appreciate how terrifying it can be and how many things are technically going to go wrong, because they will go wrong on a live stream. They're never flawless. But yeah, even if it's just one person in that live stream, you can talk to them and have a conversation with them, and it can be quite fun. I think from a more holistic point of view, live streams can be good for converting viewers into loyal fans or subscribers, or getting them onto a mailing list, or selling them a product or service. But maybe Steve isn't quite there yet on his YouTube journey.
Yeah, and I think it's first of all, it is a lot of fun. Can be a lot of fun if people show up. Now, the hard thing is if you're a smaller creator and no one shows up, you still have got, it's almost more awkward. I remember the very first time I was shooting a video for YouTube. It was weird to talk to this inanimate object as if I was talking to a person. Now it's normal to me, like whatever, it just makes sense. It's almost weirder to talk to that same camera knowing that normally people would be watching and no one's watching at that moment. For a live stream, because you gotta keep the energy up, so if someone comes in, they're in the middle of it and they're like, oh, this is interesting, but then when they leave, you still got to keep that energy up. Whatever it is you're doing, you got to pretend that there are people there. So you have to fake it till you make it. You have to pretend that people are there at all times. But it can be a lot of fun. One, no editing. Love that. I love that. Don't have to worry about editing. You can make it a thing that is interesting enough that people will have to show up, have to make time. And Jeff is really great at this, Jeff from El Jefe Reviews and one of our coaches here, is to make sure that video is good enough to be watched later. I mean, he's got tons of live streams that have hundreds of thousands of views on them, because the content itself is so good that even if you weren't there live, you still need to watch or want to watch the content. So a master at that, and I love that he has done that. So hopefully that's helpful. I like doing live streams. I think they're fun. In a way, when the Discord episode we just did recently was kind of like a live stream, because we recorded the podcast while talking to people in Discord. So that was kind of like a live stream. And that was lots of fun. And we'll do more of those as well. All right. So back to that text message. Hi, vidIQ crew. I hope your candy has treated you well this week. I used to upload videos to YouTube back when I was a teenager and got about 10,000 subscribers and 1 million views. I quit at the time to focus on school, and now over 10 years later, I'd really like to pick it up again.
10 years later. Goodness.
I've heard the algorithm is unkind towards older channels comparatively to the new ones. Is this true? Would you recommend making a fresh channel? Even though my planned content is in the same niche as it was back then, it's worth noting that I have all my videos set to private right now, as I was a teenager that spoke swear words into a bad microphone. So it'll be a 0 video point regardless. Best regards, Tony. This is interesting. I can see both ways of this. What are your initial thoughts on this?
So it's one of these. I'm 49% one way, 51% the other, and I think I'm 51% start a new channel. Not because of conspiracy theories about YouTube punishing older channels, but I just think from a mentality point of view, having that fresh start, a clean slate, you're starting brand new on YouTube, and this is now your commitment to it. I just think from a complete mindset point of view, Travis, I don't think the channel is going to benefit or be handicapped either way if they just continue on their old channel. But I guess from one point of view, there is still data there on that channel, and that's going to kind of muddy what you're doing today. And so I think that's why I would maybe start a new channel. But as I say, I am literally on the fence on it. And maybe, Travis, you're just going to be literally on the fence the other way.
I don't know. I'm just kind of on the fence, but I'll tell you some thoughts that are going through my mind, and then maybe this creator can figure out through these thoughts what they want to do. I think the pros of having, using that channel is that you're already kind of set up. There might be some, I don't know if 10-year-old data even works anymore. I don't know, but at least you're kind of somewhat established. And he says within the same niche, so that doesn't sound like a bad thing. It sounds like he might be able to roll back in. I think the bad thing of this is because you privated all your videos, it's going to look like you bought the channel. So people are going to come in and say, of course, your first couple of videos aren't going to have that many views because, of course, it's almost like it's a brand new channel. They're going to see a 10,000 subscriber channel with like 20 views and like, wait a minute, what's going on? You have 3 videos with 20 views each and you have 10,000. They're going to think this is a fake channel. So in that way, it's bad. So I like what Rob's saying about starting a new channel. Plus, I think the other thing is it will set a false expectation potentially to yourself to have 10,000 subscribers. You put out a video, it gets 12 views, and you're like, that doesn't feel right. But if you have 0 subscribers, you get 12 views, you're like, all right, cool, I did well. And sometimes that's all the big difference is not having this thing, this almost sword of Damocles holding over your head of like, I need to do really well because there's this social proof that I should be doing better than what I am doing. So I like the idea of starting new. I think between these thoughts and what Rob said, I'm kind of convinced of that. I think before all that, I would have said, just keep it on your channel. Who cares? But yeah, the more I think about it, I think for a healthier journey, starting new sounds like a good idea.
Here's an interesting question to you, Travis, and everybody listening. What were you doing 10 years ago on YouTube, if you were on YouTube?
That would have been 2015. I was not on YouTube, so that was 3 years before I started.
So you were just consuming content at
I
that
was
point.
watching, yeah.
So I think 10 years ago, I was, May 2015. I think I was just about to discover my breakthrough niche, which was how to record your iPhone screen. I don't know if I made a video on that topic yet. I had been covering the Asus Transformer Prime, the Nexus 7, Nexus 6. So yeah, I think I was on the cusp of a breakthrough from what I remember. And then I was just a year away from making the video for vidIQ, which changed everything.
Yeah, and here you are.
Or he's already on YouTube somewhere.
That's wild that that even that journey was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was already like maybe 300-400 videos into it at that point.
Sheesh. See, look at that. Some people don't think about that your journey here at vidIQ actually started before vidIQ, and they don't realize you had a 100,000 subscriber channel before you even came here. So I think people just see, like I've talked about so much, the tip of the iceberg, and they don't see everything that went into the iceberg. I don't think everything's underneath the water that built that little thing that you see above the water. Like, oh, I could do that video. Sure, you could. But to get to this point, do you have it? It's harder than it looks.
Funnily enough, I did have a nostalgia moment yesterday. A video went out on vidIQ, and somebody in the comments said, "Hey, aren't you the Airshow guy from 10 years ago?" And like, Airshow was like an app you use to record your iPhone screen. Like, yes, that's me.
That's insane. That's wild. Okay. All right. So next up are some emails. So here's an interesting thing, Rob. You probably don't know about this. So you can email us at theboost@vidIQ.com, but a lot of people in the comments will ask, well, I can't figure out what the email address is. Now, we say at every episode that we do these questions. It's theboost@vidIQ.com. We do not write it anywhere for 2 reasons. And this will probably continue to be the case for a long time. Number 1, spam. So there are scrapers across the internet that look for email addresses to put them in the spam list. And by the way, we are already in a couple spam lists, but the spam lists we're in are targeted for podcast guests. So in other words, there's websites out there that have like Tube Talk and stuff. They're like, if you want to be a podcast, but this is one of the many podcasts you can go and here's the contact information. I'm okay with that. It's interesting. Again, we have never written it anywhere, and it's really important for that. I don't want that. And number 2, because I don't want drive-by people. In other words, I don't want people that hear, if you just go to this channel and watch, there's a link there, you can ask them a question, and they watch that answer, and they never come back. I'm not in that for that. I'm for the people who listen and who want to send us a question, send it in. We're going to answer it. Those are the 2 reasons. So I see a lot of people asking, well, what's the email address? Well, that tells me you haven't watched very many episodes, because literally every single time we answer these, I say, it's theboost@vidIQ.com. So there's your answer. This next question comes from, let's see, bring up the screen, Ivan. Dear Travis and Jen, at the very beginning of... Oh, wait, you read this one. This one's your turn.
Dear Travis and...
Rob.
At the very beginning of the year, I went on a month-long vacation where I wasn't able to work on anything for my channel for the entirety that I was gone. The video that I posted right before I left went viral, getting 250,000 views, which should have given me a big boost in momentum after half a year of being stuck in the same spot. However, since I went on vacation. It stopped all that momentum and more. And I haven't been able to pick it up even all this while later. I want to keep working. I have a lot of cool ideas. I just can't motivate myself to put the work in. And editing videos that used to take me a day now take me 2 weeks. Not even my sub count jumping up a few subs excites me anymore. How do I regain my momentum and get excited about it again? I fear that this is the hardest obstacle I've had to face so far, and if I go about it wrongly, it could very well be the last. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Ivan.
Well, a couple things. Number one, imagine this. All this time you're trying to work hard on your YouTube channel, like I'm going on vacation, and you throw a video and it does the thing you've been trying to do for however long Ivan's been trying to do this. Isn't this always the way? It's always the one you don't think anything of. It's always that one. And crucially, he wasn't able to double down while it was happening. He was away that he couldn't. That's the thing that kind of sucks for him. I'm like, dang, like obviously you're supposed to double down. So he had all this momentum and stuff, and by the time he got back to it, wasn't able to pick it back up. Now, I mean, we don't know what the video was. We don't know anything about like what was going on or if it was in the same niche or whatever. All those things apply. So we can't even assume this, but I'm going to say, let's assume that Ivan did this correctly and it was in niche. A lot of times when I see messages like this, that video has nothing to do with their niche, and the answer is completely different than what we're going to give. So to be clear, we're going to assume it's in niche because I think Ivan watches vidIQ quite a bit. So I think he's probably within niche. What do you think about this? I think there's a couple things we need to respond to. Number one, like how do you try to get back? But more importantly, how do I gain momentum and get excited again? Because he's like he says, editing takes much longer now, and it's the hardest, and it's a mental obstacle. And I've come across this myself personally. I'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, this podcast seems full of coincidences because I published a short yesterday from the now very famous YouTube Yes Man, and it was about going on holiday. The creator went on holiday for a month, and YouTube said that the algorithm was going to flush the channel down the toilet. It was all in jest, but I still maintain the attitude of you can take a break if your content is irreplaceable and viewers are only going to get the content from you, therefore they're willing to wait. But if you're a smaller creator who's trying to compete with so many other channels, the moment you get some momentum, you want to stack that momentum as quickly as possible, or YouTube is going to find other creators to replace you. And that is the eternal damn frustration of YouTube, in that it is relentless. But at the same time, you need to protect your mental health. And I'm still trying to figure out what the solution is to that. I think it was to hire lots of other people to help me out on the channel.
Yeah, right.
We're able to do that. I know, Ivan, you're not able to do that in this case. What I go to here, Travis, is the bit where they mention that now videos take 2 weeks to edit.
Right.
And I'm wondering why that is the case. Like, do you assume that the video went viral because of the production quality in some sense? Or like, did that video that went viral only take you a couple of days to edit? It sounds like that's where the main source of burnout and frustration might be coming from. So I would certainly think about perhaps going back to basics so that you can make videos maybe a little more efficiently and take that editing time and push it into the video idea or the packaging or like the hook. That might be something worth considering. And then also just to check, because I don't think we've asked this question, Travis, did they actually double down on this viral piece of content? It may have gone viral and then they did other things in the niche, but did they revisit that specific topic in the niche? Those would be my, path of least creative resistance to try and rekindle that momentum. And I guess the other thing to say is, mindset. All right, a video went viral with, 250,000 views. That's not your expectation now, right? You're not expecting every video to get 250,000 views. So prior to that viral moment, how many views were your videos getting? And then after that video viral moment, how many views are your videos getting? If there is still like an incremental increase of like 10 or 20% on that baseline, then you are growing. It's just this viral moment that is completely screwed with your mindset. And that happens to all of us at some point. We all have this viral moment and then we think we figured it out. And most of the time, that's not actually the case. You've just had a moment and then you've got to try and figure out how to replicate bits and pieces of it.
There's also the thought that like 80% of a channel's views come from like 20% of its videos, or maybe even less than that, maybe like 10%
Very
of its
true.
videos. So, for the most part, your videos are going to go back to somewhere where they were, depending on what you've done. If you're continuing down the same path, the same niche, and again, we're assuming some things, which we probably shouldn't, but we have to kind of talk to the broader audience of this is what would happen normally. If your baseline has gone up, that's actually what those big videos are supposed to do, make that baseline go up. It doesn't mean you're always going to have these bangers on bangers. So without being able to know the specifics, hopefully that's somewhat helpful, but the mental aspect is hard, period. Like YouTube, it's a grind. It can keep you from making content has done that to me personally on a personal level of like, I don't want it to not succeed. I don't want videos to not do well. It's kind of, you have to, and Jen and I talk about this all the time, you have to disconnect your self-worth from view counts and subscriber growth. Sometimes it's hard to do because when things are good, you're like, I'm the best, I'm awesome. But that also means when things aren't going so well, the first thought is, I suck, I've been canceled, I'm no longer good. So if you can disconnect yourself from that and look at it analytically and go, okay, well, let me just try this different, then you have a much better chance of being successful. But perhaps more importantly, you have a much better chance of doing it long term. Because I think if you put too much pressure on yourself, it's no longer fun, then what's the point? So
to that point, Travis, maybe Ivan needs almost like a throwaway video whereby he actually makes it for himself, like to fall back in love with the creative process. Why I love making YouTube videos, that might be worth exploring as well. And especially for that one, don't worry about the views.
Right.
Like, just enjoy making videos again if you can.
Very important. And definitely if you can't keep yourself going, then none of the performance matters. None of the bangers matter, because if you're like, I've given up, then what was it for? But yeah, a very real thing, and people struggling with like even mental health on YouTube is a major thing. It's something that we'll probably talk more about in the future. All right, another text message. I took April off, a pause I needed to quietly reset before returning in May with a clearer sense of direction. There's another pause. Another person is like, I needed some time. Since coming back, I've shifted my focus towards mental health and personal growth. Hey, look at that. It feels more aligned with where I am now and with that kind of space I want to create. But before that shift, I had already completed 25 videos as part of a personal challenge, 100 videos in total, meant to document an awkward, uncertain YouTuber slowly finding his footing. And honestly, that part was real, raw. Each one captured the stretch of trying, the growing pains, and the effort to show up even when it didn't feel polished. I love that, by the way. I think this is amazing. But now I'm wondering, does that early chapter belong in the new story I'm telling? Do I leave the first 25 videos visible, letting them speak from where I started, or do I tuck them away, honoring the growth, but quietly letting go the parts that no longer fit? I think the quickest answer is look at MKBHD's channel. You can look at some of his very first videos ever made. Probably same thing with Casey Neistat, some of his very first videos ever made. They don't hide that stuff, and people go back and watch them, especially people that are part of your core audience and people that you want to be part of your tribe, so to speak, your actual audience, not just random viewers that come by, but people that come back over and over and over again want to go back and see these things. So unless it's actively holding your channel growth back by being completely off niche, that it's, and even then, like if you're doing good current content, that shouldn't matter. I say keep it up. But what do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I was going to use Mr. Beast as the example. I think you can go to his channel, Sort by Oldest, and he has 300-400 utterly atrocious gaming videos on his channel that are still there. Like, I don't think he even shows his face for the first 2 or 3 years. If you was watching Mr. Beast, maybe 12 years ago, you would think, this kid's not going to go anywhere. The rest is YouTube history. And yeah, Travis, to reinforce your point, as long as those videos don't start to pick up traction and momentum, they shouldn't necessarily influence the content that you're publishing now? Because that is a bit of a conundrum. Like, what if this YouTube journey, and there's 25 parts of that series, all of a sudden starts picking up views? You almost have to go back to that and address it for the audience. But we'll assume that those videos are just sat there not really doing anything. Now you're talking about mental health and personal growth. I almost feel as if those two stories could like intertwine at some point. Like, we may almost like part 26 is like, hey, I took a break from this journaling my YouTube adventure to talk about mental health. But now those two have intertwined, and I'm going to carry on that series. That might be an opportunity if it's successful.
The other thing you could do is unlist them all, put them in a playlist, and put the playlist on your homepage. Talking about like your early journey, if you don't want them to be seen on your video thing. So that would also work.
That's an idea.
Yeah. See, I'm smart. I know things. Next up, another email. Remember the boost at vidIQ.com, as I've said before. This one comes from Mark. You want to read this one?
Hi, Rob and Travis. Is it possible to have more than one YouTube audience? And if so, how can you capitalize on it? The screenshot below shows two sets of peaks, 9/10 p.m. and then 5/6 a.m. the following morning. This happens regularly and doesn't follow what I see in the when your viewers are on YouTube analytic. So I'm thinking of ignoring that and only going for those peak hours shown below. Trouble is, though, I don't have the time to post twice a day. Thoughts? So there's what we're looking at here, I guess, for the benefit of the listeners, is they getting 170,000 views every 48 hours. That's pretty cool, like 90,000 views a day.
That's a lot. That's a lot of views in 48
hours. And there are 4 peaks in the real-time analytics because it's over 48 hours. It kind of peaks and then drops down a little bit and then peaks even more each day, during the 9/10 p.m. and then 5/6 a.m.
Yeah. I have thoughts about that. I think that tells a lot, by the way. Have you picked up on what that actually tells, the story that tells?
Yeah, go ahead, Travis. Let's hear your thoughts.
So we don't know what time this person releases their content.
What language. I think language have a big influence here in terms of why two different spikes.
That's a good point. So, but I do think that, and I'm definitely one of these people who goes to bed watching YouTube, so 9 to 10 p.m., but also wakes up and one of the first things I do is watch YouTube, 5, 6 a.m. So, I mean, I'm not getting up at 5 a.m., but a lot of people do. And you got to remember, again, depending on where your time zone is, that could actually be 9 a.m. It might not be 5 a.m. for them. It might be 9 a.m., which is, hey, I woke up, let me put on YouTube while I'm making coffee and breakfast, and you're off to the races. So you're getting people that watch at night and getting people that watch in the morning. That doesn't mean it's two different audiences. It just means their availability is different. But again, to Rob's point, they also could be somewhere else in a different country where that is the same time, generally speaking. It's like, it's 10 p.m. here, but it's 10 p.m. in Asia or somewhere like that. Or maybe you're in Asia, I don't know. And it's 10 p.m. everywhere when they're watching it. So it could be either one of those.
I'm going to take a guess, right? This will be completely wrong, probably. But I guess this might be a popular Australian creator, so English speaking.
Interesting.
But Australia is in like the opposite side of the world for the rest of the English speaking world. That's why like we have a conundrum of when we publish our videos, because Australia and New Zealand always get excluded in a sense. So I think they have like a bit of an audience in Australia, but then when the rest of the English speaking world wakes up, they get like a bigger boost in audience. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to figure out why there might be two spikes there.
I like that. I think that's interesting. But no, I don't actually think you have two different audiences. I just think that they're watching at different times. And I think the explanations that between Rob and I have given you, one of those is true. So I don't think you need to post twice a day. I don't think it's two audiences. I don't think it's any of those things. And by the way, this is actually pretty common. I've seen a lot of larger channels where this ebb and flow happens every single day. It tends to happen more on larger channels than smaller channels, but I've seen it so many times that if I don't see it, I'm more worried if I don't see it than if I do see it.
I've just never seen this double spike. I guess there could be one other answer. It could be that they make shorts as well, and the shorts discovery is peaking at that certain time for whatever reason. Shorts could be a funny thing. And then to try and address the more general point about, when is the best time to post your content? Traditionally speaking, I'm really emphasizing the word traditionally there. What we try and do is we post our content 2 or 3 hours before that peak in the real-time analytics. So in my part of the world, it peaks at around about 3, 4 p.m. So I publish the content at around 1 p.m., 2 p.m., whatever that is. Assuming that that's when our viewers are online most. Having said that, I think generally, if your viewers, audience, are going on YouTube every single day, which we assume they are, then YouTube is intelligent enough to recommend that new content from you, even if it is 8 hours old or 12 hours old, as long as it's not time-sensitive content. Do you know what I mean by that, Travis? Like, let's say I publish a video at midnight your time and you're asleep. You wake up at 8 o'clock. YouTube is intelligent enough to know that, all right, the video's been live for 8 hours, and the views aren't as high as what they were, but I know this viewer, Travis, really likes this channel, so we need to recommend it to Travis on the homepage, even though it is a slightly older piece of content.
Yeah, and multiple times until I click it sometimes. A lot of times you'll see that on your homepage, like I've seen this thumbnail forever, like, okay, I'm finally going to click it. Yeah, we've talked about how the algorithm knows your viewing habits better than probably you even know. So if you see a thumbnail that continues to come up on your homepage, I would say give it a click. You'd be surprised at how good it is.
Yeah, like MKBHD, he usually publishes videos like midnight my time. So I'm always watching the videos when it's been up for 8 hours, but it's in the top left-hand corner of the homepage recommending it to me because it knows I'm going to click. And as you say, Travis, it'll be there for a couple of days, like begging me to click on it. Yeah, because it knows I'm satisfied by the content.
Yeah, it's really smart. It handles that stuff for you. You don't really have to worry about it. Again, if your thumbnail, title, and topic are good, YouTube's going to try to take care of it for you. So I think that's always the important thing. And
let's congratulate I can't remember their name. I do apologize. Who was it who sent that message?
That was Mark.
Congratulations, Mark, on what seems to be a flourishing channel. Like, you've got momentum and a serious amount of audience coming in every single day. So, well done on that. And, well done for like asking the nuanced question and trying to dig into the detail. I think that shows a deep insight into, trying to find the marginal gains.
Yeah. All right, final question to, again, email, theboost@vidIQ.com. This one comes from Laura. Hi, Genvis. Now, that's a joke that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Travis and Genvis. We were doing Tren was one of the options.
Let's change it to Trobert.
Trobert. Oh, that's coming.
I want at least one person to ask that, like, even when I'm not here, just like, hey, Trobert.
Yeah, because Jen won't know what that is. Which will be great when she comes back. She won't know what that is. All right, your turn to read this one. It's the last one for today.
Hey, Trobert. Hope all is well, that side of the world. My question today is around target audience. My target is women over 30, but somehow I find that it is mostly men between 25 and 35 viewing my videos. Jen needs to answer this. Why would that be? Could it be that they're reported incorrectly? My recent analytics does not show any viewer demographics anymore.
So this one's difficult in general, and we don't typically look at channels because it just creates a precedence where we can't always do that. But I thought it was kind of important to just briefly bring up her channel just because otherwise you have no idea even remotely how to answer this question. And even then, there's still maybe some hardships of trying to figure out like what exactly is the issue here. First of all, there's all these videos don't have a whole bunch of views, so I think your analytics are going to be skewed anyway. Yeah. If we look at it that way, it's definitely skewed. And to your point, this does appear to be focused mostly on women of that age group. I mean, eye treatment, I'm not interested. Birthday wish list for women over 40, I'm not interested unless you're trying to buy for your significant other that happens to be that age group. So it is weird. But again, I think really what the deal is your analytics, mainly because a lot of the views aren't super high, and that's not an insult. I'm just trying to answer the question. Means that they'll be skewed one way substantially, even if the number is only like, so for example, this one has 75 views. If 10 of those people are female and maybe 15 of those people are male, and then the rest don't have their thing checked, then it's going to look like more male than female watched it, which is true to a certain degree, but a lot of people don't have that checked, and the rest might be all female, right? So you might actually still be hitting the right people. The other side of this could be that maybe men are looking at this going, oh, this is interesting. Like, this looks, let me take a look. Oh, look, she looks fancy. Let me click this, right? And then just click out and don't come back. I don't know. Like, but looking at this, I do believe you are kind of targeting the right channel. I would definitely challenge some of these thumbnails a little bit, like this one right here. There's just a lot going on in one picture. But yeah, what are your thoughts when you see this?
Can we just sort by most popular just to see there isn't an outlier really skewing the numbers? So that's only 1,000 views, isn't it? Yeah. And it's a hair makeover. So you wouldn't expect necessarily that to appeal to a predominantly male audience. I think how I might approach this going forward is to, first of all, great, you've got a target audience and that's who you want to go after. Now let's do some research into the best videos that represent that audience and then remake those pieces of content with your own voice, your own angle, so that you are definitely appealing to the audience that you want to appeal to. It is a tricky one to answer. I agree, Travis. There didn't seem to be anything on there that would be suggesting that there's an eye candy reason for males to particularly be going onto that site, onto that page. There was nothing odd there, I think. And as you say, the sample size was relatively small, enough to, I would hope, not worry you when you start to build some traction and momentum with your audience. And also, I'd just check the comments as well. Are the comments from your target audience? And if they are, then at least those who you are trying to engage with the most are being receptive to your content.
Yeah, I think that's all good. By the way, you're sounding a little robotic, so I paused your upload during that part. I'm not sure if that's it might be okay. So if people listening back go, I don't know what Travis is talking about, ignore me. It's fine. Anyway, that does kind of conclude everything. So I thank you, Rob, for coming through. We appreciate you as always. Yeah. Have a lot of fun doing these, and we got lots more episodes, still a couple more episodes of in-studio stuff, and then we got guests galore coming, so make sure if you're here on the YouTube channel, you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on the audio podcast, you got to leave us 5 stars. We need that. We appreciate that greatly. And Rob, what is your word of wisdom for this week?
Keep creating no matter the challenges. You've got this.
I love it. We'll see you on the next one.